Hello, this is Decimal, and in this video I'm going to be covering an event I went to in Toronto called Frequency Freaks. Basically, it's a presentation / open mic for DAW-less jamming. You can talk about your setup, you can just perform. It's a very wonderful experience. I'm going to be leaving each performer's information in the description, so go and check them out. Also, each performance in this video will be time coded, so enjoy.
Hi, so my name is Michael Palumbo, and I am going to present on some of the techniques I use when I play modular synthesizer. I think maybe I'll start by talking about gates and my love affair with gates. I really love gate signals. I have two modules. It's too bad you can't see, but I have two modules here that give me gate signals. And I'll also maybe say that maybe I'll start also by saying that I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Electroacoustic Music Composition from Concordia University in Montreal. And with that, I took a number of really cool courses on listening. So I had a professor named Eldad Sabari, who was the president of the Canadian electroacoustic music community, and really, really influential on me on a number of ways. And one of the things that we learned in that class was listening to really, 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 really short sounds. So, like in an ear training course, you'll often work on like maybe being able to hear the difference between different pitches, maybe listening for harmonies. And in his case, he expanded that to like loudness discrimination to the like decimal of a decibel, and listening for that. But he also had us listen like my favorite class was listening to the difference between a sound that is 4 milliseconds long versus 3 milliseconds long. And what was really cool about that was that like the difference between those two lengths, you could actually hear a very noticeable difference in timbre. And I just became fascinated with really, really short sounds. And so gate signals allow me to produce clicks, and they allow me to produce clicks that are periodic. They allow me to send different. Actually, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, just as a sound source itself. So maybe I'll just patch that in right now, so you hear it. Oh, hey. You know what's really fun is when you remember to patch yourself into your output module. That's a good time. That's a really good time. Oh, and also I'll say, I mean, you can't see right now, but I start with a blank system every time, pretty much every time. When I got into modular synthesis, I was really, from like the very beginning, I was like, I really want to make sure that I can play with other people. So I like showing up to gigs. I play in ensembles often. I like showing up to gigs with nothing patched, because I don't really want to have any preconceived ideas when I meet somebody and play with them. I want to listen to what they're doing and then respond. So even I showed up to this gig and I didn't even have my output module patched. So I'm doing that for you now. I'll just get that going. So yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted. So yeah, that's just a gate signal right there. And so a couple years ago, I saw this really cool video on Make Noise of something called filter pinging, which is when you send, well, you can do it a number of ways, but the way I do it and the way that I saw them do it was sending a gate signal into a filter and then really playing with the resonance, and it creates these nice long tails. So I'll do that now. So that's that same gate signal. And now if we bring up the frequency, and I have my resonance all the way up, so it creates this really, really cool strike. Yeah. I mean, I could listen to that all day. And I have. But yeah, so that's sort of that's pinging a filter. You're sending a high-low signal into the audio input of the filter with the resonance really high, and then it's creating that ping. There's also, you can create some variance with the resonance. So right now the resonance is all the way up. And sorry, I also should mention, I keep forgetting that you can't see this. I should also mention that I have a high-pass filter is my output. So if I pull the resonance back, that's just the gate there. Yeah. And something else that my professor at Concordia, Eldad Sabari, really impressed upon me was trying to really pay attention to every single sound that you're playing and create some variation in that so that we're not just hearing this constantly, but that there's nice little changes. So with the filter, something I also like to do, since I have gates at my disposal, and the source of gates that I'm using is the Make Noise Tempi, which has 6 gates as outputs, and they're all quantized to each other, or quantized to one of them, with the ability to produce multiples of the main one or divisions of the main one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to patch another gate, which is tied to that main gate, to the resonance that we just played with to create some more variation. My cables are organized by length and color, because I feel like if I play a gig and it's dark, and it sometimes is, I want to be able to grab the right cable. So that's all that's going on here. Yeah. Yeah. So I could also send a gate into the frequency CV. Let's try that as well. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, so now this is certainly, again, as I said, this is appealing to me, but what I'll often do after I've done sort of this patch is I'll run it into a delay, right? Because and I want to also impress upon you that like the thinking, what I'm kind of ultimately trying to get towards is granular synthesis or microsound. But I'm not really interested in using a granular synthesis module, right? Because I find, and I certainly, I'm amazed with what people can do with granular synthesis modules, but it seems opaque to my own technique. The grain generation is happening on the inside of the module, but I want to do it outside of the module. So that's really how I'm trying to treat the creation of these pings. I'm trying to create grains. And then I want to run it into something that can then duplicate it and stretch it and do things like that. So so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pings that I've made and run it into a stereo delay and play with some of the parameters. And then I'll add gates as CV into those parameters to create more varying texture. So I'll just unpatch that there. And I'll run that stereo delay. And I know, Scott, you said questions at the end. If there's anything that's like burning, like a burning question that just actually would like help for context, or you might forget to ask later on, by all means, like just like say something, because I may not see you have your hand up.
Just want to see what filter you work.
You can come on over. Yeah, anyone else can also come over if you prefer. Hey, let's not do that. All right.
The filter's QPAS, yes?
The filter is the QPAS, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I haven't played with too many modular filters, but I remember playing a Doppler Wasp filter and having difficulty getting it to really excite with a ping. And I've heard some people say that some filters don't respond to pinging as much, but I can't speak to. I actually don't know why that is. So yeah, I just kind of got lucky that I had a QPAS. I saw that video on the QPAS for pinging, and then I've kind of stuck with that. So but yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so now we're into a delay. So maybe I'll, yeah. So if I increase, let's pull this down for a sec. Yeah, so if I increase the number of repeats, I can create really dense grain clouds. Right. Another thing I'll also mention is that if I have my rate fast enough, I can also do carpal strong synthesis with these pings, right? Yeah. There it is. Yeah. And you know, there's no modulation going on in the delay right now at all, right? It's just the pings and the variation of the pings going into a delay with a really, really fast response delay time and enough repeats that it starts to feed back on itself in this very, very tight way. So now and this particular stereo delay is the SoundHack Make Noise Mimeophone. It's a stereo delay. And in the feedback path, it has an EQ. So right now I have it up. The filter is sort of accentuating higher frequencies as it passes it back into the feedback path. But if we pull that back, yeah. So now I'm gonna play around with some more of the parameters and then start throwing more gates into that. So I was playing with the EQ of the filter that's going back into the feedback path. That's one of my favorite things to hit with CV because I can find a state and then that really, yeah, it gets that buzzing happening. Yeah, there it is. And then, but with a gate, I can then, have it only happen sometimes, right? Let's try that now. Yeah, so now I'm going to play with the... So I have carpless strong going now, but let's try modulating it a little bit so that it's not always so tight. Maybe it's pulling it back into more like a mesotemporal domain, like the note length. Let's try that. Is that mesotemporal? Mesotemporal is gestural. No, gestural is gestural. Sorry, I'm forgetting my Curtis Rhodes. Yeah, it has a duty cycle, I think, option, and I forget how to change that, so I always have it just set at 50%. So it's out of the cycle, it's 50% is high, and the second 50% is low. Yeah, but I think you can do like 30 and 70, maybe 10 and 9, but yeah, no, it's not, but it's totally a possibility. I think when it comes into that, that's maybe more of a trigger length, I guess. But yeah, but I don't know. I just stick with 50. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to modulate the. Another quick thing is that, and I'm not sure of too many other delays that have this, but in addition to controlling the feedback time or the delay time, excuse me, the Mimeophone has this feature called the zone, and the way to think about it is. It's like if you have a tape that you're recording onto, a tape loop, let's say, and the tape loop is, I think in this case, it's 40 seconds long. So you're recording to it constantly. What the zone allows you to do is it says, well, if I want to have the whole tape loop at my disposal, it lets you do that. But if you start to play with it and decrease the zone, it then shortens the window of the tape that's being read from. Meanwhile, it's still being recorded to the whole 40 seconds. So you can, at times, just be sampling the last half second that was recorded, but then you can quickly shift it so that suddenly now you're reading again from those last 40 seconds, so 40 seconds ago. And that with like microsound and granular synthesis is incredibly fun to play with, because you can, you can, especially with the feedback, you can like sample that really, really short one and get these carpless strong synthesis stuff, or go to 40 seconds ago and you know, the dry sound of what you're hearing, you're not going to hear in the feedback until 40 seconds later, right? So it's kind of playing back and forth with this sense of recorded time. Correct. Yeah, it's just changing the window of time that the feedback is drawing from back into itself. But there is a rate that will do that, like yeah, where you get the pitch shift. Exactly. Yeah. So it's neat that it has both of that. Yeah. Oh, let's stay with that. Thank you, Scott. Okay. So this is that carpless strong, really, really fast delay time, and then this is something that's more, I would say, more like a note time, maybe. So we'll switch back and forth between that. Not yet. Not yet. So there's carpless. There's not. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so let's see here. Yeah, something else that's really fun with gates as well is basically modulating the amount of reverb in the delay as well, right? So you can go between, you know, having this very dry feedback to suddenly lots of space. And I think, you know, just to take a step back and talk about gates for CV again, is that what I really like about it is that I'm just switching back and forth between two states of a parameter, right? I rarely use LFOs for anything. I think the only time I use an LFO is for panning, and I love panning. But yeah, as a result, like, you know, with these different gates running at different multiples and divisions of each other, with just switching back and forth between gates, you can have moments where it totally locks up or lines up with something that happened 30 seconds ago. But then there's all this neat variation that to me, I don't know, it is easier for me kind of to follow to what's going on than if it was continuous control kind of sliding through and everything like that. So anyway, so that's just wanted to talk about that. And with reverb, we're going to do that. So yeah. I really want to just run with this. I think I'm going to improvise on this for a little bit and take it to some places. If I start using a parameter that I haven't talked about, I'll mention it. Otherwise, this is everything that you've heard. Yeah, I'm going to ping the other filter. So I still have two high-pass filters. But instead of it going mono into the stereo delay, it's now stereo going to the stereo delay. Let's do it. The short answer is not often. But I guess we'll find out what it does. Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah. Okay. So I guess the answer is I do now. Okay, I'm gonna mix it. I'm gonna mix high pass and low pass. So I've got, yeah, left is high pass and right is low pass. Thanks. I'm going to modulate the rate as well. Thank you. Yeah, so that's filter pinging and using gates as CV. So yeah, something else I started doing about a year ago was incorporating drums, because I'm already working with transient sounds with pinging, so I may as well also put drums in there. Also, I like drums. So I'm going to, eventually where I'm going to end up is using these textures, clocked, and Euclidean sequences with drums, and just trying to make something rad happen with that. And I'm going to strike everything. Yep, it's a game time decision. something I've been doing lately when I perform. Like I want like a really really sudden cut. I did this at I played at TEMOM, like Toronto Electronic Music Open Mic Night at Handlebar on Monday, and I was playing, and I like as fast as I can turn a knob, it still sounds like a fade out, you know. So what I've sometimes do is I'll find where my output module is, and I'll just, you know, so it's just, which is really very dramatic and sounds very cool. Okay, so let's see here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just patch up a little beat. I'm going to throw my snare drum into another stereo delay and use gates to CV it. So pretty much the exact same technique that I was using on the filter pinging.
What's your drum module?
I have an Endorphins Black Noir, which is, it's got, hold on one sec. It's got a bunch of things going for it. Let's see here. Okay, so it has a kick sound, snare. Oh, let's pull this back. What's going on here? There we go. It's got snare. It's got a fair bit of noise. Yeah, that's fun. Snare. It's labeled TB, and I've never bothered to look at what TB stands for. It sounds... I don't know what the... Yeah, maybe it's tambourine. Cool. I think it's like a 909 circuit, I think is what's going on inside. Okay, yeah. Closed hat, open hat. Yep. Anvil? Yeah, thank you for that, yes. An anvil. And cymbals. And then I also have another 909 module specifically dedicated to hats. Yeah, so let's patch that up. Yeah, we'll get that going. Thank you for that, Scott. I have a Constellation, which is a 8-channel Euclidean sequencer with tons and tons of variation. It's funny because like because I play with others so much, like I could spend a couple minutes coming up with a cool melody and a cool like series of rhythms, but then the ideas have shifted already, you know. And so I want to be really like, be able to respond, try something. If it doesn't work, just make nice little adjustments and then playing with them. I did, it's funny, the first gig I ever played with a modular in improvisation, I played with Glenn Hall, sax player based in Toronto. Love Glenn Hall, but what I put him through, unfortunately, was I sat there for 5 minutes listening to him play while I was like patching, which... Maybe I didn't put it through. You know, I really wanted to make sure that I was playing something in response to what Glenn was doing. But you know, the more I did that, I thought, oh, that really puts a lot of, maybe not pressure, but it requires who I'm playing with to put something forth first. You know, and so what I want to be able to do is sometimes do that, but also sometimes be the one who's offering stuff. So yeah. So this, 8-channel sequencer that's all Euclidean rhythms means that pretty much out the gate I can have some kind of cool rhythm going, and then I can make those modifications afterwards. Yeah. So we'll get these going. There we go. Okay, so let's throw some delay on the snare. And by the way, I have 2 of the same delay in this rack. And a third delay. But I've got the mimeophone with the snare drum as well, so let's get that going. And to Scott's question earlier, yes, I am going to clock this delay. Yeah, so I'll get that going. 1 sec. Okay, so now I'm gonna start using gates to start CVing the snare to get really interesting shifts in the rhythms. Yeah, it's pretty noisy at first. I have to tame it. Actually, here's where the filter on the feedback path of the delay is really, really interesting when you're using like drum sounds. So I'm gonna patch that in now. Yeah. So it's only letting some of it back in, like some of the higher frequency content back in, but it's doing so on a clock, which is pretty sweet. There's a parameter for reversing the delay, so I'm going to throw that in there as well. So there's no sound going into the delay, it's just catching its window. The window's being moved around, so it's kind of, slowly. Yeah, that's a nice ending.
And if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below, and thank you for watching.